folks. It's good to be here. Y'all got some pizza. We got some good vibes. It's March Madness. When people are listening to this later on, it won't be March Madness, but today it is. And we're really excited to be here. So Al and I have been doing this show for a little over 4 years, and we really like to talk to people that have passions, that are beyond 9 to 5, and the journeys to that, ups and downs, things that they've learned. And that's what we do here. And we're really thankful to the 707 Hub. I know you all are here for that too. And just an amazing space. And Al and I always say we wish we had this when we were in college, because we lived here nonstop. And it's just a big gift here. And it was a natural fit for us to be here. So this is show, I want to say like number 10 or something. I'll just throw it on.
Yeah, it's at least 10.
A lot. Great. Yeah. But anyway, we're hustling sideways. And I'll turn it over to Alan, and we'll start this party up.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jim is a motivational speaker.
I am. I forgot
to keynote.
Yeah. My name is Jim. I'm a motivational speaker and a keynote speaker.
I'm Alan Halas. I'm a music writer here in Milwaukee. And today we are honored to have the privilege of Djdade Denson, who is a graduate of Marquette University, and you also founded Coffee Makes You Black, coffee shop on the north side, and then have several other ventures beside that. So let's welcome him in. Hey.
I love when I get a chance to come back to Marquette and just speak life to individuals, and of course talking about business and entrepreneurship and how we can overcome some of those many challenges that we face during those times. So I'm super excited to be here. I'm honored even. I've been tracking the podcast for a while. I watched a few episodes, so the fact of actually getting a chance to be up here is truly special. So I appreciate it.
Hell yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't expect that. No. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, where you grew up, you're a Milwaukee kid. Tell us about that.
Again, my name is Djdade Denson. I am a Milwaukee native through and through. Born and raised there, still here, may never leave. But Milwaukee is a special place. It has a lot of assets, not only the people, but the land, the earth, and that's really what inspired my path to where I got today. So when I was going to Marquette, I pursued environmental engineering, which then had an idea in my mind to do sustainable energy, maybe some things with water, and that's exactly what it was. It was perfect, and the community was great. The teachers were awesome. It was very challenging, of course. During my tenure here at Marquette, I also ran track and field, so managing the load of Division I sport and doing engineering was a bit intense sometimes.
Yeah, seriously.
Also, I had 2 jobs at the time too.
Oh my God.
But as someone who was essentially a first generation student who went through college, a lot of things that I experienced were first times. So a lot of a lot of challenges, a lot of bumps here or there, but ultimately was able to make it through. Wouldn't say necessarily with flying colors, but as long as you make it through and you have a good experience. But one of the greatest things that I gained from Marquette was my network. The people I've met throughout the time, they've literally almost got me to every position that I have now. So my super senior year at Marquette, one of my track teammates was at the career fair in the engineering building. And went around, handed out my resume to a bunch of people, and once I seen him, it instantly clicked again. I'm like, hey, what are you up to these days? He's like, hey, you should hear more about this construction company. So mind you, I was in environmental engineering, which is a base in civil, which does do construction, but that's not the main focus. So my life quickly transitioned from what I was doing was water research. So how to kill microbial life that's harmful to humans. So I did a few projects here and how to just make water sustainable. So then while I was doing that here, I quickly made a transition to corporate construction. And that's when everything really opened up about how the economy moves, how things are built, and what part that a person can play, even if they didn't have a lot of experience at first. So from construction, I've gone many different paths, but I always allude back to that because I never expected that to be a path that I have done in my life.
Sure.
And some of the projects we worked on were truly monumental. I did the amphitheater at Summerfest, the Milwaukee Youth Arts Center. One of my last projects was Komatsu. They have a brand new international headquarters here.
We're in Bayview.
Yep, that was one of my last ones before I took a brief hiatus from the construction world to do restauranting, which is another whole thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so we'll kind of get into that pivot in a second, but growing up, were you somebody that was kind of entrepreneurial in nature, like looking back on it, were you the kid with the lemonade stand, the kid that, you know what I mean? Were you trading Pokemon cards and selling them for people or whatever?
You know, growing up, I had a lot of great examples of people who shared that entrepreneurial spirit. I always find myself in meetings or that I definitely weren't supposed to be in, but with people who did great business throughout the community, and it just happened to be part of my network. My father was a community activist and very well respected educator here in the city, and he knew everyone. And from a lot of his connections, I was able to just produce opportunities. He recently passed, but some of the things that he was able to do still, ring home for me today. Like, he started a youth program for fathers and sons called the Father and Son Retreat, where we take 100 to 150 men and boys from Milwaukee, we just go camping. And that's something that I grew up in, but I didn't know how positive of an impact it had until I was much later.
Yeah.
So now I'm the director of the camp, and I'm doing all the fundraising and the facilitating, and it just it's a full circle moment.
Yeah.
So I've always had examples of people who showed me the path, and once I got into engineering, it showed me a different way of thinking and a different way of problem solving, and that just went hand in hand with entrepreneurship all the way. And with the amount of opportunities that are out there and being able to recognize opportunities, that was something that I picked up on very early, and it still helped benefit me to this day.
Sure, so you have the Father and Son program in addition to the businesses that are going on too.
Absolutely.
You ever feel like an underachiever?
I do. Well, and then Alan and I were communication majors, so I'm like processing engineering and everything you're doing, I'm like, that must have been really tough. We were trying to go into class and get B's, and you were out there making
important decisions.
But I'm curious, just like a lot of your father's kind of legacy sounds like a lot of relationship building and networking.
Absolutely.
What were some of the things that you learned like along the way? I think that's so critical. And did it come naturally to you? Was that something that you were learning as you went, or did you get into situations you were like, oh, I get what to do?
Marquette helped out a lot because being an athlete and being, in the circles that I was in, they had a huge emphasis on networking.
Yeah.
The proper way to network, who to network with, networking with intention, and that through just many reps and practicing my pitch, and or just not having to pitch at all. Hi, I'm Djdade. I'm excited. I'm enthusiastic. Let's see how I can help you. That gets you a long way as well. And Marquette did a perfect job of helping me, but I think I always had a little bit of that because I love people. I love relationships. I love the things that communities can do together to do, better business or huge projects.
Yeah.
And at the same time, nothing gets done alone.
Totally.
So building up that team, and I have 100 mentors. I think it's important to understand that like about 52%, I think that's the number, but 52% of all assets are owned by the baby boomer class, which now is reaching the age of maturity and retirement. And the way that I was able to get to where I am today is not necessarily reinventing the wheel, but helping with succession planning for some of these people who have worked their whole life to achieve great things, but don't have anybody to pass it on to.
Sure.
There are huge opportunities in industries, in almost every industry, where you can find someone who is so willing to help you and teach you how this is done, how to properly conduct business, that I always look to just seek and learn as much as possible.
Yeah, one small thing you mentioned there was like showing up with some enthusiasm, right? And I think that's really underrated. I think we oftentimes get bogged down in day to day and just like, oh, like I'm tired or whatever. And I always say there's three things you can control: your attitude, your energy, and your effort. And if you bring those three things and do it and turn up, if you will, in those three, it's probably gonna work out, and that's contagious, and people notice it.
And being upfront with where your shortcomings are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I feel like I've been blessed in the aspect that I've been able to effectively communicate. I might not be the best at this, but if I had a little mentorship, I would work my very hardest to make sure that this thing is a success.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it's not, we can figure out ways to pivot and kind of move forward. So the efficiency and adaptability that I've been able to gain over the years is an asset for me, but it's all experience based.
Yeah.
Being uncomfortable, really getting in there, like, I don't know how to do this, but by the end of this project, I'll have way more knowledge about this process than I did in the beginning.
And you're gonna try.
I'm gonna try everything.
Yeah, I think that is something that is so huge, is being able to like be real with yourself about what you suck at,
Mm-hmm.
like for lack of a better term, but like that's something that I had to learn too, as somebody that wanted to, you know, run my own business and do everything, like do every aspect of it.
Yeah.
At some point, you realize it's not, you know, I could try my hardest at something, it's not gonna turn out the way that if I just go and reach out to somebody in my network that could do it, or
Yeah, leaders ask for help.
hire, yeah, and in the
Absolutely.
case of hiring a freelancer to do something, like, some people are just more talented in other aspects of things.
Yeah, and recognize that the self-awareness is good. And you're like, it's okay to not be okay, you know, and everything.
Absolutely.
So it's okay to not lie to yourself.
That's right.
Right? Basically.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about Coffee Makes You Black. That was your first kind of foray into like traditional entrepreneurship?
I would say so. Well, I guess before that, my first initial step was at the Brewed Ideas Challenge right here in Marquette.
Shout out. Marquette's a very good place.
Shameless plug. But the Brewed Ideas Challenge exposed me to the complexity of entrepreneurship and what's required. They taught us how to build a business plan, how to do the marketing, how, you know, what things to look out for. And that kind of got our feet wet a little bit. But, you know, when it comes to Coffee Makes You Black, that's, again, one of those things that I didn't start.
Yeah.
So Coffee Makes You Black has been around since 2001.
Okay.
So a little over 20 years of lineage. And my father's best friend actually started it. But when we were graduating from college, he was retiring. So he was looking for a succession plan on how he could basically keep the legacy alive, but keep it in the community as well.
Sure.
So during that time, myself and one of my old roommates, well, two people that I graduated from Marquette with, Drew Lovett and Daniel Armstrong. One is finance guru, which you always need that. And the other one, he's actually getting his doctorate at the Medical College of Wisconsin right now. So we had a very strong team of people who, you know, were inspired, were from the city, and were looking to do a new challenge. And Bradley, who's the original owner of Coffee Makes You Black, he helped start that youth father and son retreat with my father. So I've been a part of Coffee Makes You Black pretty much my whole upbringing. And to have the opportunity to be able to take that over and kind of use everything that I've learned to really push it to the next level was opportunity of a lifetime. But it also was a school of hard knocks because I'm not an exceptionally culinary person. And in a restaurant, that helps. It helps a lot. You know,
Pretty important.
I'm good with efficiency. I'm good with seeing where problems are and then adding a solution. But, you know, when it comes to, you know, getting in the kitchen, I will do it. I've had my days where, you know, I'm chicken and waffles all day, you know, and that's okay because that's part of the process. It's part of the teaching, it's part of the learning. But another tough point was when I graduated, 2 years later was the pandemic. So once we took over the restaurant, it was the height of the pandemic. And to put things into perspective about how crazy things got, you could buy at one point a 30 dozen case of eggs for about $15.
God.
When the pandemic hit, that $15 case of eggs went up to $105.
Oh my gosh.
So imagine making omelets with very expensive eggs. You know, you really don't want to waste any of that, but in that, there's also a lot of opportunities to find, you know, where you can cut costs or where you can be more efficient in all aspects over the restaurant. And, you know, how to deal with staff, payroll. I mean, Coffee Makes You Black was is a great experience because it took a chance on some very inexperienced young guys and put them in the driver's seat to do something that was truly exceptional.
Yeah.
And the community that we were able to build around that, and the food that we were put out was, was truly something that was, revolutionary in the city. And 20 years of that is just amazing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it really, to be honest, it fell onto my radar within the last few years, probably after the pandemic. And I think that's a testament to not only work that you're doing, work that your team is doing, like finding efficiencies, finding ways to market effectively, right? And to get the word out. Because it's not easy too. I mean, in Milwaukee alone, there's Collectivo, Anodyne, Stone Creek, all the other boutique coffee shops that pop up. So to do coffee and to do a cafe in a city that has several options and to make your name stand out, not easy, I'm sure.
And what's interesting about the location of Coffee Makes You Black is where it is actually. It's in the heart of the city where there isn't a local coffee shop within a 2 square mile radius. So the impact that we were able to have in collaboration and even in politics was huge because we had a huge turnout when it comes to like voting, when it comes to like reform. We have a lot of community meetings where we bring like the police districts or the police chiefs, or we'll bring the fire commissions. But not only to have conversations in the community, but to show the kids in the community, this is what you can be, this is what you can aspire to be. And although there's sometimes stigma between our first responders and our community, being a person or being an entity that's able to bridge that gap is super important.
Do you feel any level of like pressure to have to bridge the gap, or like do you feel it's probably some level of personal, like I really want this to go well and for people to come together, like what is that stressful at all to have that
Probably just a touch.
That's a good question, and I would say that I have a great support system and great examples. So my father was someone who was one of the original Black Panther members, Black Panther Party here in Milwaukee. He used to be part of a gang, done the whole gambit. But by the end of his life, he was an educator at Marquette. He sat on the board for the Police and Fire Commission in Madison and in Milwaukee. And it just goes to show that life's long and you can do a lot of different things at different times. And what he also showed me is that community will always be forever. And anything that we can do to mend those communal ties it's better for the community as a whole. There's more trust. There's more resources to go around because now we're all working together as in comparison to working against each other. And it's important to birth individuals or first responders that are from the community in areas where they patrol, because now there's a better buy-in to make sure that things go exactly how they're supposed to go, and that there's care and compassion.
Do you see the impact? Like, are people coming as like, this is my community, this is where I want to be? And
at first I was a little skeptical because you hear so much negativity. But when you actually sit down and you get to see it for yourself, you can see that it's all, misconception. And maybe even misunderstanding a lot of the times. And the more we have those tough conversations and those upfront conversations, the more we'll be able to do in the long run. And it holds a huge impact on what we can do here in the city.
So let's push beyond that to Coffee Makes You Black is obviously becoming successful, it's working, or becoming more successful in this case. When do you start getting the idea to branch out into some of the other sectors that you're into now?
Well, one thing I will definitely say is whenever you have a venture, it's important to put the time in to make sure that you can get things as automated as possible before you take off into another venture. So at Coffee Makes You Black, we did our best to put people in place that will manage without the presence of me all the time.
Sure.
Because for me and my businesses, it's more effective for me to get out and bring in leads and bring in new business and work on collaborations and events and partnerships than it is for me to cook in the kitchen at this point. Or for me to go get supplies. So once you have things like set up in a manner where you can take a brief step away, the entrepreneurial spirit just regains in your body and your soul, and those opportunities come arise. I always say that maybe not everyone should be an entrepreneur, but they should have the experience of being an entrepreneur, because you have to be able to recognize opportunity, and not only recognize opportunity, but be in a capacity to take advantage of it if it's something that is within your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
So after we got to a point where things were stable enough, there's opportunities to come through the door all the time. And for me, it's important to be in industries that I think are going to be around forever. Wind, well, not wind, but energy, buildings, water, those type of things that if we are missing one of those, we're in far worse shape than ever.
Yeah.
So as long as you can stay in things that are, can be around forever, or, help, humanity as a whole, that's the type of things that, we look for, things that just are going to be around, because business ebbs and flows, and, things can be going very well at one point, and then it could be an administration change and everything stops.
Yeah.
So, how do you always kind of stay on your feet, and pivot is important, but all of that starts with just beginning with the end in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think one thing that you said too is like being able to make it automated and sustainable on its own before you make that jump to that next thing. Because I'm sure there's a lot of people in here that just want to make a lot of money and they want to do this, and then they also have this idea for this thing, and they don't know how it's going to connect to this business idea over here, but they're going to launch all 5 of them or 6 of them at once, and they're all going to fail, right? Because if you don't have one that is sustainable and one that can do its own thing for a little bit, like you could walk away from that plate while it's spinning and go to the other plate and start spinning that one.
Yeah, my mom cursed me. She called me a jack of all trades but the master of none. So that so that really, in my mind, it made me kind of focus in more on one task at a time. And although I have skills in a lot of different areas, that one at a time mentality helps you kind of, just get better and more of a perfectionist at that one task. And once that's complete, now you have expertise. So not only can you have that business, but you can consult in it now.
Yeah.
You can help others along the way. You can build partnerships and collaborations. And that's the important part. Once we're able to give back what we've been able to learn and work so hard on, and tell other people how to do the same thing.
Yeah. You talked about ebbs and flows, right, of business, and it also is the same for humans and entrepreneurs. You have ups and downs, and what are the ways that you refuel? Let's say you're coming off of just a long week and things were tough. Where do you find kind of that energy to get back and to do it again?
Entrepreneurship it can be a lonely road, but it's supposed to be a collaborative road, which whenever I feel down or I have energy lack, I always lean on my support group. Who, I've done, a good amount of things in my life, but I always feel like there's more to be done. But those people will literally have you sit down and say, hey, just take a moment to reflect on all that you've done, all the good that you're able to put out. And it puts into perspective, okay, I'm not as far as I was, or I just needed to think about it a different way, or recharge. So like a lot of my recharge comes in family time. And, I do play video games, very good at 2K. So, that helps as well. But for me, typically, after 7 p.m., I cut it all off. I chill out, and I, make myself something to eat, and I just reflect on the things we did today. But as far as me working more, I try to, set a limit on that, because, oftentimes you have so much going on that you kind of you're just moving. And once you get your routine down, you have to set aside time for yourself. Because if you don't, you can easily get burned out, especially when a lot of things kind of rest on your shoulders a lot. So you can easily get burned out. You want to try to avoid that as much as possible. And delegation all day long. Who can I bring aboard? Who it can be mutual beneficial, where I give them a task, they complete it, and that's better for the whole, for the whole group. So me, a lot of family recharge time. I'm not a great cook, but I love good food. So I go to restaurants, but I really spend time with the people who either inspire me or encourage me, because both those people just give me so much life to keep going.
I love it. I also appreciate the reflection part that you mentioned. I think a lot of times we move fast. I'm guilty of this often, where it's like the day's over, on the next day, on the next day, the next thing. And the whole point is to reflect on like what went right, what went wrong, and to learn from that. And I know like Marquette, one of the things we say is think, act, reflect. And we forget about the reflect piece way too often, where it's like that matters to know the lessons that you learn and either take the good things or leave out the bad things. But like you have to think about how it went before you can move forward. And as humans, I think we just like go, and I get it because I do it a lot. But to take a step back, to reflect, and decide which route is the best. I think that's so critical, and to have that be part of a routine, I think is probably a big reason why you're in the place you're in now.
Absolutely.
Great.
Let's talk about the newest venture, the new thing that you're working on with some automation, and there's trading, or there's stock trading, right?
Yeah, so my newest venture was something that we've been working on for probably 10 years.
Yeah.
So maybe I graduated 29, so maybe eight years, let's say. But while I was at Marquette, we had an intense education in the financial markets and how to trade, how to analyze charts. And we spent more hours looking at charts than homework. And it paid off for us because we had a lot of times where we would trade, and if anybody here invests actively or on their own, you have your days where you win, you have your days when you lose. But something that we thought was super important was we had the process down. And if we were able to, as humans, stick to our plan every single time, right? Because that happens every single time, right? But if we're able to stick to our plan every single time, we'll be successful.
Yeah.
And we had the mindset, we had the framework, but we're also in college. We had other priorities, we had sports, we had homework, we had relationships, that we had to maintain, and you can't always give 100% attention to everything. So what we've been working on since college is a system that automates the entire process for you. So no longer do you have to spend hours looking at the charts or second guessing yourself whether or not it's a good trade or not. We implemented AI and a lot of indicator-based trading based off just years of back testing to make sure that this thing is accurate, but it takes all of the guesswork out of investing. And it incorporates a system to where it's consistent every time. And to this day, we've been able to achieve between 80 and 85% accuracy, which is, if you're taking 10 trades, 8 times out of 10, you're getting a return.
Yeah.
Hall of Fame numbers.
Hey, 30% is a good batting average, 300. So
that's exactly.
Swinging for the fences.
And something that we've been able to experience with a lot of our clients. So we just launched this in August, and because we've been doing this for, like I said, 8 years, but it takes that long to do a proof of concept, to be sure that, okay, what we're saying is what's actually gonna happen.
Yeah.
And from that, we've been able to produce, so we have about 20 clients now, and they've been able to see between like 8 to 10% return monthly, which when you think about traditional investing, like let's take the S&P 500, for example, that does about between 10 and 20% return on a year. But we're able to do similar returns on the investment side in just months.
Yeah.
So
more than doubling money in a year.
More than doubling money in a year. And the thing about our program is every trade that we've ever taken can be found. It's documentation for everything that we've ever done. And we think, well, I want to say we know, but you never know the future, but we think that we have a product that can change the way that we do investing, or really the returns that we're looking to make. Because when we're doing it on our own, we had similar returns, just not consistency.
Yeah, sure.
So adding that consistency piece in there is really opening up our eyes to just different type of way to gain income passively. And that's the super important part for us, to help businesses and individuals achieve just that next level of financial security, which is a topic of late because of the the concerns in the market and how well our economy is doing, but we've also been able to diversify into other economies as well. So it doesn't matter if how well the U.S. economy is doing, because we can go to the German company, the German economy, or the European economy, and still produce the same results.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a
Sorry.
no, that's right.
Perfect. Yeah.
There's a Warren Buffett quote that is like, if you don't learn how to make money while you sleep, you will work forever. And I just heard that recently, and I was
I
like,
live by that.
yeah. And we've talked before with other guests here about having passive streams of income too, and being able to, have something that can just sit on its own and still will generate money, right?
And because people ask me all the time, what do you see as retirement? What do you do when, to get to that point? And I'm like, automated trading,
Yeah.
imagine having a system that works for you and you don't have to actually do that much besides, just sit back and collect, or you let your money make more money for you, which is, the dream of, why we conduct business, to put people in position or systems in position to work for us so we can get more time to do the things that truly matter, like spending time with family, or allowing people in their family capacity to be able to improve. I know a lot of times, especially in places that I grew up, people just don't have enough capacity to improve the circumstances that they're in. Whether, my mom, she worked 3 jobs. So I had opportunity to see where, she worked all day, come home, cook fast, and then she's back out the door. But she provided a great life for us, but she never had capacity to grow into, and to really produce financial freedom, for us. So as I've taken all my examples from her and my father, I see that it's my job, with all the things that they gave me, to be able to try to produce that for the rest of my family. So a lot of business that I do with family members, because, I think I have the best family in the world, but I do with them because us as a unit, if we're able to gain more freedom or gain more time freedom where we can do more things, we can help more people.
Yeah, sure.
And if we can help more people, now we're changing communities, we're changing other families that, can do the same thing. There's plenty to go around for it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You strike me as being very value driven, and that's really what your principle is. What if you had a number one thing that drives you, something that you really, I'm going to call it your why, that you wake up and you're like, this is why I do that. And I think it's really important. I have one. I think it's like I bet you have something that's like, this is the one. I don't know why I clapped, but it just felt like
My why is definitely my family and my mother.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of sacrifices that they went through in order to be in a position to go to the schools like Marquette and and really try to better yourself has to be the reason I do it. My mom has been a teacher all my life. She works at Milwaukee College Prep, which I actually went to school there while she was teaching, so that was great. But the sacrifice that she showed me, it doesn't keep me up, but it keeps me motivated to just be the best as I can. And she often gives me encouragement, but she often always reprimands me for when I need to do better. It's not always about encouragement. It's a lot of times about having those tough conversations that get you to the next level. And she doesn't pull many punches, and I never want her to, because my mom's always right. Because she's had the experience, she's dealt with youth all her life, and she has a proverb for just about everything to get you through the tough times, to get you through essentially anything you might be facing. And her and I got younger siblings, now I have nieces and nephews who are all looking up to me, who want to maybe do something similar or go entrepreneurship route, but almost all my family is entrepreneurs. So being able to do this road first to make sure that they don't have the same hiccups that I have is the most important thing that I could ever do.
Yeah, absolutely. I am also a first generation college student, so I don't know if you feel this too, that for me there's like a little chip on my shoulder, like everybody in your family's looking at you like, okay, we got you this opportunity, you know what I mean? Like, we gave you the tools to get you here. Don't screw it up.
Don't screw it up.
Call myself.
You can swear if you want.
Anyway, don't screw it up. Do you feel any of that? And how do you, I guess, maybe deal with maybe some of that pressure?
I do feel that all the time. With being an engineer and having an engineering background, if there's ever a problem, my family always like, go fix it, engineer.
Yeah, engineer, figure it out.
Figure it out, engineer. You know, like
I was a
okay.
communication major, so they're not asking me to
If
fix
someone to
important
talk,
stuff.
I've seen, I'd be like, well, here's what's happened.
Yeah.
And it gives me pride to be able to, okay, I actually can fix that,
totally.
you know. But one thing that I've always been able to do is I'm a quick study.
Mhm.
So if there's ever something that I'm lacking in, you know, I'll hop online, learn as much as possible. You know, go to YouTube University.
Yep.
You know, use ChatGPT. You know, like utilizing all the tools to get over that hump. Because although there's always, you know, pieces to where people rely on you, but I've been through enough trials and tribulations to not fold so much under pressure anymore.
Right.
To really, okay, that's the problem. Let's do the solution now, and let's work together and let's meet a lot. Let's meet a lot so we can talk this through and make sure everybody's on the same page.
Yeah.
And you know, the more that I'm able, the more success I'm able to gain, the more I can share with everybody else. It's such a collaborative process, and I take on the challenge daily. I'm always uncomfortable. If you're not uncomfortable, you're not doing it right.
That's right.
Because
That's
how can you learn if everything is like just given to you?
Mhm.
You gotta be able to innovate and show like, oh, I can be adaptive, because that's what the world is. The world is a very dynamic place, and it's always changing. So being able to adapt with it is essential for survival.
Yeah, absolutely. Where do you see this kind of going with, you know, not only automated trading, but then also having a cafe? Any other ventures that you're looking into, you know, when you get that itch to
All the time.
create something?
So I just got my drone pilot license,
Okay,
so which is the same, almost the same test as becoming a pilot.
yeah,
So every now and then I tell people I'm a pilot,
Yeah,
but
did you fly here?
I did not fly here. But you know, with that, I've kind of dove back into some engineering.
okay,
So I've been doing a lot with energy lately. So we do energy audits for commercial buildings. So say a building like this, which needs an LED upgrade. So say a building like this, we'll come through and we would tell you exactly what you need to do for your building to be more energy efficient.
okay,
How we can save 20, 30, 40% on your energy bills by upgrading lights, adding installation, adding heat pumps or solar. And in that, it all started off with a small cohort of churches who wanted to upgrade their churches to be more energy efficient. And in that, you know, that we put together a team to facilitate that on their behalf. I got a HVAC engineer. We have the best master electrician in the Midwest, all on the team to help these people get to the next level in their energy goals. And a lot of times it's rebates or no money down solutions to where these churches that were built in 1920 can get, you know, 2025 retrofitted upgrades, you know, for their buildings. So, you know, that's where the drone came in as well, where I would do flyovers of the buildings to take off the roof. And, you know, through that process as well, I'm a registered electrician.
okay,
So got the engineering degree, that was great, but want to take it a step further and become a registered electrician. So now any work that we recommend for the church to do, we can also quote and implement the work as well. And a bigger piece of that is workforce development. A lot of times when there's work that needs to be done in the city, people call outside contractors. And what I mean by outside is people who are outside of the community, outside of the state sometimes, where we have a lot of those same people here. So when we go to churches and we do the upgrades, usually there's one or two people in the church that's very savvy and can fix things. They're the church handyman. So what we do is we teach and we train the handyman how to do the maintenance from here on out. So they'll never have to call us again. So it's a piece of workforce development that we're working with youth to get them into the trades. So now as the future progresses and, you know, we start to head more towards electrification, we have a workforce in place to tackle that huge load.
I love that idea of like, so that you don't have to call us again.
Right, awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, take me out of the picture, take our business out of the picture, but also you're building community with
Absolutely.
that and being able to say, okay, this is how you get into a trade, this is how you do something that's worthwhile, and something that is going to be your path, but is also going to help a lot of people.
And I'm just trying to learn and get as many credentials as possible, because the more I can learn, the more I can share.
That's right.
So now, I can teach my nephews how to do all this electrical work and how to run jobs and how to quote jobs. And now he can fish or eat for the rest of his life. And that's if college isn't the goal. I went to college, but I guess what I do now is use my degree. But for a large portion of after I graduated, I didn't technically use my degree, which my degree helped me a lot because it showed me how to think and maneuver and innovate. But there's many paths to get things done in life, and I try to go to the path of there's going to be some resistance, but at least resistance or things that align with my path. And honestly and truly, closed mouths just don't get fed. Whenever I have a problem or whenever there's something that I'm looking for, you ask people. Whether it's we need a new building to do a energy audit on or something like that. Just speaking that out loud, people get their wheels turned and they start to dig into their network, and then now we're doing a connection game. But if you would have never said anything, none of the progress would ever got done.
Yeah. So there's a lot here. Okay, so you've got the
Long days.
I'd say the cafe, you've got the trading, you've got the electrician, and all of this going on, and I'm sure other ideas in the works too. Where's the best place to kind of keep up with what you do and kind of follow where you're at and connect with you?
That's a good one, because I am not a social media savant. I have like Instagram, but LinkedIn is probably like the best place.
Sure.
Because it has all of my endeavors and everything that I'm working on, right in that one place. I'm getting better, so I have an assistant now,
Okay.
which,
Game changer.
oh my goodness,
Huge.
it's not a day.
Yeah.
But that goes back to having that help component of people who understand the mission, they understand where you're trying to go, and they don't mind helping you get to that end. And having somebody in your corner who is working on things that you like to work on has been night and absolutely day. I'm so blessed to be able to put out good work and done enough good business that people believe in what we're trying to do and where we're trying to go and the changes that we're trying to make in the city.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Well, thank you for doing this and being part of this. Again, thank you to the 707 Hub and Marquette for being able to, help us put this on. We appreciate that. We are the Hustling Sideways podcast. We are wherever you get your podcasts. We're also on YouTube. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn.
that's it? That's where we're
That's all.
Yeah.
That's all, right?
Yeah.
Just-
And we're right here as well.
And we are here as well.
Yeah.
So just Google us. We're around. Thank you so much for doing this.
Absolutely. Thank you guys
Of
for
course.
what you do. I think it's important to highlight people who are, putting in the work and getting it done. I think examples of people who can do it just makes it, build that fire in yourself. Like, okay, if they can do it, I can do it.
Yeah,
If they can pass that challenge, I can pass that challenge.
Yeah, you were certainly getting it done, for sure.
Yeah.
So I appreciate it.
I'm trying, and one day it's gonna all work out. So for all our future entrepreneurs out there, just keep going, keep grinding. One important thing for you all is, college students get free LLCs. All you have to do is apply. So, especially in the state of Wisconsin. So if you have a business idea, it's good to get that legal entity in between you and the idea just for protection. But it's free. All you gotta do is apply.
There we go.
Good point.
I wish I would have known that in
Yeah.
college. So
Dang.
Keep
Am I
on
still
moving.
eligible? I'm 34. So.
As long as you're a student.
Yeah.
take a class. Keep on moving, keep on grinding.
Yeah.
And Jim,
Keep on hustling.
that's perfect. That's how we end every episode. Like
Keep
you
on
just
hustling.
teed it up for us.
I was like,
Perfect.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you guys.